All right, I'll go ahead and read out the case study just so everybody gets the idea of it. Kathleen has been the manager of a library for a number of years, and she was asked by the new city manager to show her the business plan for the library that they had completed 2 years ago. She wanted to know what steps had been taken to implement the goals and what key accountability indicators were being used to measure whether the goals were being achieved. Kathleen indicated that they have never developed objectives for the goals in the business plan and told the city manager, we were never asked to do that. The city manager asked if she felt a little uneasy that there was nothing being done to measure that they were effectively providing service to their customers. She told her that if they did not have a plan, it was like being a rudderless ship. How do you know if you are moving the organization forward or backward? She was given a month to define the direction for the organization and measures its effectiveness using the readings that you have read thus far and your own experience to find what steps Kathleen needs to take to satisfy the city manager's request. So you want to go ahead first and give your thoughts?
Yeah, thank you. So the first thing I do is plan and prepare, and ask myself, what is the end goal that I'm looking for, and is that a good goal, and is that a measurable goal? And so I would start there. It's like, what do I want to measure, and what do I want to plan for? And then I really like SMART goals. So SMART goals are specific, measurable, attainable, relevant, and timely. So making sure that, the goal, I can measure for a library how a library success is based off of how many books are being checked out and stuff is being used. And so I can say specifically how many books are being checked out. So that's specific, it's measurable. And then I want to see an increase in books being checked out. So that, say normally 100 books are checked out, then I'd say, okay, next month I want 120, not 1,000, because 1,000 would be unattainable if if the library is only checking out 100 books. And then it's relevant to the library because it's books, and then it's timely. Timely would be like, okay, how many books are checked out in a month, and it's 100 books in a month. So it needs to have a time set with it. And then another thing, this wasn't mentioned in the book, but input versus output goals. That's something that I really like. So, and I always compare it to if you have a goal of losing weight, right? So it's like, I want to lose 5 pounds, but that's actually an output goal, because that's the output, that's the result. The input is, I'm going to exercise and eat healthy. So you need to have both input and output goals. So stuff that you can control and stuff that results from what you do. So that's, if I were Kathleen, that's how I would start, is I would try to make goals based off of SMART goals and input versus output goals, and making sure I have good goals.
Well, I definitely agree with you on the SMART goals. But I would also, if I was Kathleen, I would start by looking at the business plan, just to make sure it's updated, like nothing has changed or needs to be updated, because obviously they haven't been keeping up with changes if they haven't been setting goals for themselves. So I would probably go over that first and update what needs to be done, and once again just review it. So everybody's on the same page. And then, like you said, I would start with the SMART goals and see what needs to be considered and how to go about it. So let's say we want to reach more minorities or get more minorities within the library and serve their needs, especially if they've been having higher minorities move into the community and whatnot. And so you'd have to figure out how to do that, what programs need to be implemented, and so pretty much do a SMART thing, use SMART for every goal. Let's say we need better technology, so we should implement getting hotspots and computer rentals, or we need more programs that reach minorities, reach LGBTQ plus. So we need to kind of see what objectives we need to do and focus on, and then do a SMART goal for each one of those. And then that way we show that to the city manager, that, hey, this is what our goals are for, like, for these, we want to get these things done. And for each of these things we don't want to get done, this is the steps we need to take to implement it. And this is what we need to, in order to implement it.
I like that.
I like that as well, and I want to add to Genesis because I do believe that your business plan needs to be updated. From being at the library for about 7 years, I've seen different changes, especially every 2 years. COVID gave us a whole different change that we had to do, so we had to be very adaptive. Now, post COVID, I've seen another increase, another change in our basically in what we need to offer. Our programs have changed a little bit more to cater to different different needs. Right now, our computer programs are seeing a big increase that we haven't seen before pre-COVID. For example, like our typing class has been declining a little bit, except that we took it from 2 days a month to 1 day a month. But our Excel classes have increased. So that's where we allocate more of our staff. We've been seeing that, and that's a goal that we've been trying to do. Basically, add more people to where it's been growing and putting a goal on that type of group to see if it's going to reach that amount of people each month. It went from basically we had about 12 in our computers 101 class, and now most of them have to put on the wait list for the computers 101 class. So that's another example that we've had. Another thing to measure is that we always have what we call basically somebody that's at the front of the desk, always counting the people or doing our people count, in other words. That always comes in, and we have to compare them month by month to see the increases. Also, the checkouts have been increasing. Also, we've been trying to see if we should, like for the summer sometime, we have to increase our online capabilities. In this case, the e-reader apps like Hoopla and Overdrive. We increase it because we do have so much of an influx. Now, when we see sometimes that people tend to stay within that region or there's a bigger demand, we start to see the budget, if it's feasible for us to be able to leave it from $5, which is the standard, or 8 audiobooks, or the ebooks, in other words. Not only that, but we're seeing also an increase in just some of the programs that we have. Simple programs like the painting class, also the crochet class, but unfortunately we have our limitations. One of our librarian, our L1s, our librarians, has been moved to another branch. So now we cannot offer that crochet class, and it's part of our limitations. We could only do so much, but yet we still try to adapt them what's going on. By seeing that, yes, we look at the numbers and we see what we can offer, because sometimes we listen a lot. We listen to people when we want to increase the collection to see what checks out more. We see what people really like. And some people, we debate about this because we're like, okay, everybody's coming in for craft books, either crocheting, sewing, or anything of that sort. And a lot of people say, we have too many of those. Well, seeing it from my perspective is because I'm dealing with the with our patrons, is that yes, but they need a new one to check out because they're in that realm that they want to see something fresh and new. And it's been working. We set that goal to be new in what's working, but also add variety to it. And it's been working. We've been setting that goal and we've been achieving it. So the numbers have been up, especially in the summer readings. And I think that's a tribute to putting those type of goals of just looking at our community, kind of like adding to what Genesis said, looking when she said the example about minorities, but just looking at to our different needs of our patrons that come in. To add to what Genesis says, we have what's called conversation circle. That has been increasing as well. We put also a goal. We've been more, the way we treat people has worked a lot. We've been more welcoming. We've been more showing people that it's a comfort zone that they could come into and also express, because a lot of people are practicing their English and they kind of don't hesitate to actually talk. But I've been seeing that their room increase. So it's starting to
That's
get to a
the thing.
point
That's what your library is doing. It's planning ahead. It's looking at their values, their community, and seeing what can be done, what needs to be done, and planning accordingly. And from looks of it, obviously, according to the topic, the case study, Kathleen wasn't doing that. So she probably wasn't um, serving the community as good as your library is, because you're looking at the community, what they need, what they're wanting, what they're using, and then moving forward accordingly, planning your finances, planning the staffing and all that. And if you don't do that, like there's no way to move the library forward, and it stays stagnant. And even at some point it starts going backwards. People start not going to the library because they're like, oh, that library is so outdated, it has no good programs, it doesn't have what I need or want. And so less and less patrons, and before you know it, the library is closing down because they see no traffic. There's no point of keeping it open and allocating finances to it if there is no community for it to serve. And if you're not planning everything accordingly, community is going to move on somewhere else. He's going to go to other libraries or just not go to the library, plain and simple.
It's all about awareness, aware of what your surroundings,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And also, if you don't plan and like make goals and all that, you can't communicate that to your staff. Your staff is like, they're just going day by day as well. There's no motivation to make the library better because there's no goals. And so the staff moves on too, because they're like, I don't want to work in a place like this,
Yeah.
And it's like, because I bet everyone has worked in a place where it feels like you're always playing catch up. You're never like, it's always, oh my God, I have so much to do from yesterday, I don't even have time to do what's today. You're always playing catch up, and that's very demoralizing.
It happens.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Anything else anybody wants to add? No.
Everybody said pretty good points.
Mm-hmm.
I agree.
All right, well, I'll go ahead and stop the recording.